Welcome. This is a lecture on recalibrating the lives of the incarcerated for life beyond incarceration. Simply, giving those who have been stuck in cold, hard cells for so long they've lost the habit, and some the memories, of living normal lives, the habits they had long abandoned since being institutionalized or imprisoned. For more information, check out my other videos. When we talk about incarceration, we often focus on crime and punishment, on statistics, sentences, and security. But behind those numbers are human beings, and behind those walls are minds and bodies that change in profound ways. Rebuilding lives from the inside out is about understanding those changes, the human cost of long-term imprisonment, and about creating a framework for rehabilitation that begins before release, not after. For decades, our justice systems have operated on the assumption that punishment alone deters crime. Yet the evidence tells a different story. Recidivism rates remain high, and many people leaving prison struggle to reintegrate into society. The problem isn't just social or economic, it's neurological, psychological, and emotional. Long-term incarceration reshapes the brain, erodes executive function, and damages the very capacities needed to live successfully outside: decision-making, emotional regulation, and trust. Let's start with the neuroscience. Chronic stress, isolation, and hypervigilance inside prison environments activate the brain's threat systems, the amygdala and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Over time, this constant state of alertness floods the body with cortisol, the stress hormone. High cortisol levels shrink the hippocampus, impair memory, and weaken the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and self-control. In other words, the longer someone lives in survival mode, the harder it becomes to think clearly, manage emotions, or make rational choices. This isn't just theory. Neuroimaging studies show that people exposed to prolonged confinement exhibit patterns similar to those seen in trauma survivors. Their brains adapt to danger, not to freedom. When release finally comes, the world outside feels chaotic and unsafe. The skills that kept them alive inside, vigilance, emotional suppression, distrust, become barriers to healthy living outside. This is what we mean by institutionalization, the gradual loss of autonomy and adaptability that occurs when the environment demands constant defense. Institutionalization doesn't just affect behavior, it affects identity. Inside, routines are rigid, choices are limited, and personal agency is stripped away. Over time, individuals lose the sense of self-direction that defines human dignity. They may stop imagining a future, because imagination itself feels dangerous, a reminder of what's been lost. Rehabilitation must therefore begin by restoring that sense of agency, helping people rebuild the internal architecture of choice, emotion, and connection. So how do we do that? The answer lies in therapeutic foundations, approaches that treat rehabilitation not as correction, but as healing. Trauma-informed care recognizes that many incarcerated individuals carry deep wounds from childhood adversity, abuse, or neglect. Mindfulness-based programs teach awareness and self-regulation, helping participants notice their thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Somatic practices reconnect the mind and body, releasing tension and restoring a sense of safety. Emotional regulation training helps rebuild the neural pathways that allow calm reflection instead of impulsive reaction. Parenting and life skills programs are equally vital. Many incarcerated people are parents who have lost contact with their children. Teaching communication, empathy, and responsibility helps them prepare for family reunification. Life skills training, from financial literacy to conflict resolution, provides the practical tools for independence. These aren't luxuries, they're the foundation of reintegration. The framework proposed in Rebuilding Lives from the Inside Out envisions a 6-month pre-release program that integrates these elements. It's holistic, addressing the cognitive, emotional, and social dimensions of rehabilitation. Participants engage in structured therapy, mindfulness practice, vocational training, and community mentorship. The goal is not just to prepare for freedom, but to practice it, to rebuild the internal systems that make freedom sustainable. This approach also benefits society. When people leave prison with restored emotional regulation, improved decision-making, and a sense of purpose, they are far less likely to reoffend. That means safer communities, lower costs, and stronger families. Rehabilitation is not leniency, it's prevention. It's the recognition that healing the individual heals the system. But to make this vision real, we need policy change. We need correctional institutions to adopt neuroscience-informed frameworks that treat rehabilitation as a biological and psychological necessity, not an optional program. We need funding for trauma-informed training for staff, partnerships with mental health professionals, and evaluation metrics that measure growth, not just compliance. And we need to shift public perception to see rehabilitation not as a reward, but as a responsibility. At its heart, this work is about dignity. Every human being has the capacity for change, but that capacity must be nurtured. When we rebuild lives from the inside out, we acknowledge that healing begins within, in the brain, in the heart, and in the spirit. We stop asking, how do we punish? And start asking, how do we restore? The science is clear, the psychology is clear, and the moral imperative is clear. Long-term incarceration without rehabilitation is not just ineffective, it's damaging. But with the right framework, one that integrates neuroscience, therapy, and community, we can transform prisons from places of despair into places of renewal. So as we look forward, let's imagine a justice system that measures success not by how many people it confines, but by how many it helps to heal. Let's invest in programs that rebuild executive function, emotional resilience, and social connection. Let's give people the tools to live freely, not just outside the walls, but within themselves. Because true rehabilitation doesn't start at release. It starts the moment we decide that every life, no matter how broken, is worth rebuilding.